האם זה באמת סגולה בדוקה? הסגולה ללמוד בזה?
Good evening, Erev Tov, Dobra Vietcher. We are in the Zera Shimshon on Parshas Devarim, and we're going to be looking at Os Vav, section number 6. And before we do, we're going to take a look at two psukim. One is from the Haftorah on this week's Parsha from Sefer Yeshayahu, or Sefer Yeshaya, and the other pasuk is from Chumash from the beginning of Parshas Ha'azinu. So let's first take a look at the pasuk again. That's from the Haftorah on our Parsha, on Parshas Devarim. This is from the first parak, the first chapter in Sefer Yeshaya. It's the second pasuk, and it says as follows: Shimu shamayim v'ha'azini eretz. Hear, O heavens, and give ear, O earth. Ki Hashem diber, for Hashem has spoken. Bonim gidalti v'romamti, children have I raised and exalted. Vehem pashu bi, and they trespassed against me. That's the first pasuk. And now let's take a look at a pasuk that's going to sound somewhat similar. This is from Parshas Ha'azinu. Moshe says, this is Sefer Devarim, Perek Lamed Beis, pasuk Aleph. Ha'azinu hashamayim va'adabera. Give ear, O heavens, and I will speak. V'sishma ha'aretz imrefi. And the earth will hear the words of my mouth. So if we look at these two psukim or consider these two psukim carefully, we'll see that they're similar, except that there's one very striking difference, and that is that Moshe used the verb ha'azinu, give ear, in reference to Shamayim, and the verb sishma or shma, the shoresh shema, hear, in reference to the earth, and Yeshayahu reversed those two. Yeshayahu changed the use of the two different verbs and from the way that Moshe used them. And of course, the Zera Shimshon does not miss that, and he's going to talk about that. So let's get into the Zera Shimshon Drush Vav, his section number 6, which deals, as we said, with the Haftorah on this week's Parsha, the Haftorah from Sefer Yeshaya. Shimu shamayim v'ha'azini eretz. Hear, O heavens, and give ear, O earth, ki Hashem diber, because Hashem has spoken. Bonim gidalti v'romamti v'chule. I have raised children and exalted them, etc. And that's the pasuk, of course, that we read from Sefer Yeshaya. So the Zera Shimshon comments, Tzarich Beor. This requires explanation. Eich miskasher ha-pasuk, how does the pasuk connect Reishe l'Sefe, the first half of the pasuk, and the second half, the concluding half of the pasuk? So if we think about the pasuk, and we can see the Zera Shimshon right here just quoted most of it, not all of it, but most of it. The first part talks about the Navi, Yeshaya, calling out to the heavens and the earth to listen and hear to what he was going to say, or to listen and hear actually because Hashem had spoken. And then the second half talks about Hashem saying that he raised his children, he raised Bnei Yisrael, and they rebelled against him. Those two ideas don't seem to connect. They don't seem to follow, and one would think they wouldn't be combined in the same pasuk. There must be something that we're missing in terms of understanding this pasuk. So we would be able to see the connection between the first half of the pasuk and the second half of the pasuk, and that's what the Zera Shimshon is looking for. He wants to understand how the pasuk flows as one theme, and how the two parts of the pasuk connect together. V'hameforshim diktiku, and the commentators pointed out another problem in this pasuk. Lama shina mimasha amar Moshe. Why did Yeshayahu change the use of the verbs from how Moshe had used the verbs? And we pointed that out when we read the two psukim a few moments ago. Ha'azinu hashamayim v'chulei v'sishma ha'aretz. That's the pasuk from the beginning of Parshas Ha'azinu, in which Moshe Rabbeinu also calls out to the Shamayim, to the heavens and to the earth. However, Moshe Rabbeinu uses the verb, the shoresh from Aleph Zayin Nun, Ha'azana, to give ear in reference to Shamayim, the heavens, and he uses the shoresh Shema, the Sishma Ha'aretz, and the earth should hear. And Yeshayahu, again, reversed it. He switched the verbs in his pasuk. And that's something that the Meforshim, the commentators, point out. V'sertzu, and they answer, Lefi ha'azana hi mikarov. The reason is because there's a difference in terms of usage between these two verbs, these two words. Ha'azana, giving ear, refers to listening from up close. It refers to listening from a close distance. Ushmiya, but the word shemiya, hearing, merachot, that refers to listening to something from far away, from a distance. V'lochein, and therefore, because the two words have that different meaning, Moshe shehaya karov lashamayim, Moshe, who was closer to Shamayim, to the heavens, than he was to earth, ubifrat b'yom moso, and specifically on the day of his death, which is the day when he uttered the words from Parshas Ha'azinu. Specifically on that day, he was closer to Shamayim. Omar Lashon Ha'azana Bashamayim. So he used the appropriate word, which was Ha'azana, in reference to Shamayim, because he was closer to Shamayim than to earth. Aval Yeshaya, but Yeshaya Shehaya Karov La'aretz, Yeshaya, who viewed himself as being closer to the earth than to Shamayim, than to the heavens. Omar Lashon Ha'azana, he used the word Ha'azana Ba'aretz in reference to the earth, because he was closer to the earth. So the commentators give us an explanation for this issue, for this question, this problem of why Yeshayahu changed the usage of the verbs that Moshe, he used the same words that Moshe had used, but he changed them around in terms of which one he used to refer to the heavens and which one he used to refer to the earth. And the Meforshim explain Yeshayahu viewed himself as being closer to the earth, so he used the word ha'azana, which denotes closeness. And when it referred to the heavens, he used the other shoresh, Shema, hearing, which denotes listening from a distance. But Moshe, who was closer to Shamayim, used the word ha'azana in reference to Shamayim, and shemiya in reference to the earth, because he was farther from the earth than he was from Shamayim. So that is the opening salvo, so to speak. That's the Zera Shimshon's staking out questions about this pasuk, and seemingly answering in a satisfactory fashion, at least for now, this issue of Yeshayahu changing the verbs and how he used them. Continuing in the second paragraph, V'chein mashma midivrei hazohar. And this idea is also learned out in the words of the Zohar, Reish Parshas Ha'azinu, in the Zohar's comments or commentary on the beginning of the Parsha of Ha'azinu. Ella ba de basar hachi. After the Zohar explains this idea about the verbs and the closeness and the far away meaning, after the Zohar discusses that, Ka'amar Hasam, it says over there, and now this begins a quote from the Zohar. Tana, it was taught, Behahu Zimna de Amar Yeshayahu. At that time, when Yeshayahu said the words Shimu Shamayim V'Ha'azini Eretz, hear, O heavens, and give ear, O earth. When Yeshayahu said those words, Kama Gardine Tehirin is Damnu, how many pure executioners prepared themselves, lesaboro reshe, to break open his head. The his, of course, referring to Yeshayahu. When he said those words, pure executioners, that means malachim, angels who are pure, began to prepare themselves to execute judgment against Yeshayahu for the fact that he said those words. Nafka kola ve'omar, and then a voice rang out from the heavens and said, Mahu dein deboi, who is this who wants to let our Asha Almin to shatter or to disturb the world? Who is this person speaking and using words that will destroy worlds? Until Yeshayahu himself opened his mouth to respond, and he said, Ki Hashem diber. Hashem is the one who chose these words, who told me to utter these words in this fashion and reverse the order of the verbs. Lav ana, it is not I, v'lav min didi, and it did not originate from me. Ad kan lashono, until here is a quote from the Zohar. So the Zera Shimshon brings in this quote from the Zohar to tell us that even though the Zohar did use the explanation which we discussed in the previous paragraph to explain that Yeshayahu's changing of the verbs and based it on the fact that one verb denotes closeness and one verb denotes distance, and therefore Moshe used the verbs a certain way because of his closeness to Shamayim, and Yeshayahu used the verbs in the reverse fashion because of his closeness to the earth and his distance from Shamayim. Even though it does that, it then introduces this whole new idea that the angelic forces, the Malachim, wanted to punish Yeshayahu for what he said. And the Zera Shimshon will delve into that in the next paragraph, top of the next column. V'tzorech iyun, and we need to analyze ma chota Yeshayahu bazeh. What sin did Yeshayahu commit in his words by using the words that he said? The imishum sheshina haseder mimasha Omar Moshe. If the problem was that Yeshayahu changed the order of the words from the way Moshe used them, halo kosav hazohar atzmo sham. The Zohar, as the Zera Shimshon has noted for us, wrote over there, the Moshe have yatir korov lemalka. Moshe was closer to the king, to Hashem, to Shamayim. The Yeshaya have yatir rachika mimalka, and Yeshaya was farther away. So the Zohar itself, it would seem strange of the Zohar to say Yeshayahu shouldn't have changed the words when it offered the explanation. The Zohar offered the explanation about the seeming appropriateness of Moshe using the verbs the way he did and Yeshayahu changing the use of the verbs the way he did because of the different positions, so to speak, positions that they held regarding the Shamayim in reference to Shamayim, the heavens and the earth. So how can it be a problem? How can the Malachim want to punish Yeshayahu for doing something that makes sense and seems appropriate? And the Zohar itself says that. Ve'ein, next paragraph, ve'ein svara lomar, and there is no logic, it's not reasonable to say, shebishvil shekara l'shamayim v'la'aretz ne'enash, that the reason the Malachim wanted to punish Yeshayahu was for the simple fact that he called out to the Shamayim in the Aretz. It doesn't make sense to say that's why they wanted to punish him, as if that was some kind of act of temerity, of terrible chutzpah and inappropriateness on his part to call out to the Shamayim in the Aretz, v'lo mishum sheshina halashon, and it wasn't because he changed the words, shaharei dover pashadhu. That wouldn't make sense because it's a very simple thing. What Yeshayahu did by calling out to Shamayim and Aretz is a simple matter. It's not complicated to realize that it should have been fine. Shekvar Shamayim v'Aretz edim heim liYisrael, because Shamayim and Aretz, the heavens and the earth, were already designated to be witnesses for Bnei Yisrael, and that Moshe did in Parshas Ha'azinu. Moshe called out and designated the heavens and the earth to be witnesses on the conduct of Bnei Yisrael. V'yesh koach biyad navi likro ha'edim, and a witness, a prophet, a navi, certainly should have the right to call to witnesses shekvar huchnu le'edim, who are already designated to be witnesses, sheyavo v'yo'idu, that they should now come and testify. In other words, it might be true that if Yeshayahu himself called out to the Shamayim in the Aretz and Moshe had never done so, it might be accurate to say that that would have been inappropriate, and the Malachim might have wanted to punish Yeshayahu for that. That might have been viewed as chutzpahdik, as inappropriate. However, that's not the case. Moshe is the one in the Torah who called out to Shamayim v'aretz and said they should be witnesses about the behavior of Klal Yisrael for all future generations. And all Yeshayahu was doing was saying, Shamayim and Aretz, heavens and earth, Moshe designated you a long time ago to be witnesses, and now I'm calling on you, so to speak, to testify. How can that be a problem? Ve'af Eliyahu gozar. Eliyahu himself made a decree, shelo yihi talu motar, that there should not be dew and rain, that it shouldn't fall. And this is referring, as you can see, an incident in Sefer Malachim Aleph, in which Achav was doing horrible and terrible things, and the text over there tells us that he was angering Hashem more than any of the kings who had come before him, and based on Achav's actions and his angering of Hashem, Eliyahu said that there would not be rain or dew. And that was Eliyahu making that decree. Mipnei shehakasuv omer, and this was because he was basing himself on a pasuk from the Torah, which we'll recognize from the second paragraph of the Kriya Shema, ve'otzar es hashamayim, that if Bnei Yisrael do not follow Hashem's commandments, then the heavens will close up and there won't be rain or dew. So therefore, just like Eliyahu was allowed to do that and it wasn't considered improper, so too Yeshayahu, there should be no problem with him calling out to the Shamayim and the Aretz to testify, basing himself on what Moshe said in the beginning of Parshas Ha'azinu. Elavadai, but definitely we can say Shahayu Rotzim La'onsho, that the real reason the Malachim wanted to punish Yeshayahu was Mipnei Sheshino Haloshon, because he changed the use of the words. The Gambozeh Ein Lohem Ta'am, and in this there is no reason. We can't think of a reason. The Zera Shimshon says there doesn't seem to be a rationale for punishing Yeshayahu for doing something which the Zohar itself and the Mefarshim, the commentators, explained in a very logical, reasonable way. Ve'od, in addition, Dema ichpas luhu lashamayim. What difference should it make to the heavens, miloshen zeh o loshen acher, if the Navi, if Yeshayahu used one word or the other word? What is it about these words, ha'azana, giving ear, and shema, and hearing? What is it about them that the Shemayim should be upset and angry that Yeshayahu changed the uses, the words, in reference to the heavens from the way Moshe originally uttered them? Why should that be a problem? So we've circled back around to the original issue of Yeshayahu changing the words that Moshe used. We thought we had explained that and that was not a problem anymore, but now we see that Zera Shimshon has shown us that it is still considered a problem because of that section in the Zohar that tells us the Malachim not only were upset about it, but wanted to punish very severely, wanted to punish Yeshayahu for his changing of the words from the way Moshe had originally used them. So we're back to trying, needing, I should say, to explain why Yeshayahu did what he did. Next paragraph. V'yuvan, and this can be understood. V'mashe kosav hasifsei chohen, with what was written by the Sifsei Chohen. That's a commentary on Chumash from the 17th century. And he wrote, Shelishon ha'azona shayach l'shamayim. He wrote that the word ha'azona, give ear, was appropriate to use in reference to the heavens, shehem neged haneshama, because the shamayim correspond to the soul. De hashamayim, because the word hashamayim, the heavens, gematria and numerical value, neshama, actually equals the word neshama. Both of those words, hashamayim, the heavens, and the word neshama, soul, have a numerical value of 395. They have the same numerical value, showing the connection between them. The haneshama, the hashamayim, and the soul and the heavens, bekal heim shomim. They listen easily. They're attentive. The soul in its way and the shamayim in its way are very attentive and listen easily, hear easily when something is addressed, when something is addressed to them. V'hochi muchach lishon ha'azina. And this is shown and demonstrated by use of the language, by the word of ha'azina, meaning the Sifsei Chohen commentary is giving us an additional explanation as to why the word ha'azina is appropriate to use when it comes to the shamayim, because this word denotes someone or something who listens easily, who is attentive and listens easily without resistance. Aval keneged haaretz amar v'sishma. This is continuing in the Sifsei Kohen's explanation. However, regarding the earth, Moshe used the word v'sishma, shehi keneged haguf, because the earth corresponds to the body. Shekosav bo, and it's written about the body, in Tehillim, va'ani kecheresh lo eshma. I, David HaMelech says, I am like a deaf person who does not hear. And of course, he was referring to himself in a physical material form with a body. David is saying, my neshama is one thing, but I and my physical body, I am like a deaf person who has a hard time hearing. I struggle to hear things. She'eno shomea, because he doesn't listen, he can't hear, ella bekole kolos, unless there are powerful voices and powerful sounds being uttered in his direction. Ad kan lashono, until here is a quote from the commentary of the Sifsei Chohen. So now we have a whole new way of looking at the words that Moshe chose and that Yeshayahu reversed based on this explanation of the Sifsei Chohen, and the Zera Shimshon will explain more about that in the next paragraph. Ume'ata, and from now, meaning from now that we understand this new approach, Moshe Amar Ha'azina, Moshe used the word Ha'azina, give ear, Vashamayim, in reference to the Shamayim. The yesh bozeh shtei te'omim, and now we understand that there were two reasons, not just one reason, two reasons why Moshe chose this word and used it in reference to the Shamayim. Ha'echad, one reason was lefisha haya Moshe karov laShamayim, because Moshe was closer to Shamayim than to the earth, and that's the reason we stated before. That's the first reason. The Hasheni, and the second reason is the new reason that we just learned. Mishum shehu yoser kavod lashamayim. It is considered to be giving more honor to the heavens, to use the word ha'azana, shehem neged haneshama, because the heavens, as we've said, correspond to the soul. The ein sorech lahem lashon hashmiya, and there's no need to use a word like shmiya, which denotes someone or something that doesn't listen easily, that is reluctant or recalcitrant when it comes to listening, kamo haguf, like the body. So it would be inappropriate. It was inappropriate in Moshe's viewpoint, from Moshe's perspective, to use the word Shema here in reference to the Shamayim, the heavens, because here only applies to someone who has a difficult time hearing. But the Shamayim, as we said, just like the Neshama, hear easily and respond and are attentive to anything that is directed to them, any words directed to them. V'hine Yeshaya tofas tam harisho. And behold, Yeshaya comes, and he latched on to the first reason about distance. The Omar, and he said, Shimu Shamayim. He used the shoresh of Shema in reference to the heavens, Lefi shahaya yoser rochok mehem, because he was farther away from the heavens, mi Moshe, than Moshe. That was his reasoning. Umishum hachi, and because of this, hayu rotzim lahanisho, the malachim wanted to punish him. Mitam shezilzel b'chvod hashamayim, because he insulted the honor of heaven by using a word, by using the word Shema, the shoresh hearing, in reference to heaven. And in the opinion of the malachim, Yeshayahu should have been concerned. The Dilma Tam Sheni Ikar. Perhaps this second reason as to the difference between the two words was Ikar, was the main one to focus on. Perhaps the difference between the two words wasn't primarily about distance, but rather it was primarily about readiness to listen and readiness to hear. And therefore, Yeshayahu should have realized that and understood that, and therefore should have refrained from the viewpoint of the Malachim from using the word Shema in reference to the Shamayim. V'lo shayach klal lomar loshon shmiya b'shamayim, and he should have realized that it's not at all appropriate or relevant to use the word Shema when it comes to the heavens. V'hu zilzul lashamayim, and this is an insult to the heavens. Umishum hachi teretz, and because Yeshayahu understood this critique, he answered and said, Ki Hashem diber. It was Hashem that spoke. I didn't make up this changing of the words. I didn't originate that idea. Hashem told me to make the change. And that's what it says in the pasuk, Ki Hashem diber, because Hashem has spoken. Next paragraph, Aval koshe, but we still have a problem. Man mochach she Hashem omar koch. Where do we have a support to this idea that Hashem told Yeshayahu to make this change? V'lama omar kach, and why would Hashem say that this change should be made? The Seirates, and on that question, Yeshayahu answered, Bonim gidalti v'romamti. That's where the second part of the pasuk comes in and connects to the first part of the pasuk. Yeshayahu quotes Hashem as saying, I have raised and exalted children. What is the nature of this greatness and exaltedness shenitan lahem that was given to Bnei Yisrael, the Klal Yisrael? Tzarech lomar, we need to say that this is what shehishra shchinoso batachtonim. Hashem made his presence dwell in the lower realms, meaning in the earthly realms. Hashem caused his presence to come down and dwell in the eretz, in the earth, on the earth. And he, so to speak, left the upper heavenly realms. Next paragraph. Ki di'isa b'medrash Parshas Truma, as it states in a remarkable medrash on Parshas Truma. This is a quote now from the medrash. L'cha Hashem hagedula. To you, Hashem is the greatness. V'chule, etc. Ki chol b'shamayim u'va'aretz, because all is in the shamayim, in the heavens, and in the earth. A pasuk from Divrei Hayom. At motze, you find kol mashe bara hakadosh baruch hu lamala, everything that Hashem created above in the heavenly realms. Bara lamata, he also created below in the earthly realms. V'chule, etc. V'lo od, and not only this, the Medrash is, not only is that true, ela shechavivin kol ma shelamata mishal mala, but in certain ways, things in the lower realms, in the earthly realms, are more precious to Hashem than things in the upper supernal heavenly realms. Teda lecha, and you can know this is true, shehiniach ma shelamala, because Hashem, Kavayochel, so to speak, left the upper heavenly realms, the Yorad B'Shel Mata, and came down. He caused his Shechina to dwell down here on earth in the earthly Beis HaMikdash. Hadohu Dichsiv, and this is what the pasuk refers to when it says V'osu li Mikdash, make for me a sanctuary, v'chule, etc. And the other words are v'shachanti b'socham, and I will dwell among them. So the pasuk clearly says, according to the Medrash, that Hashem came down, his Shechina caused his Shechina to come down from the heavenly realms and dwell in the Beis HaMikdash, first in the Mishkan, and then later in the Beis HaMikdash on earth. So Hashem showed a preference to, so to speak, a preference to life here on earth. The next paragraph, Shlomo Amar, and Shlomo HaMelech also referred to this. Hashem Amar Lishkon Ba'arafel. Hashem said that he would dwell in the thick clouds, which is a reference to Hashem having the thick clouds be used as a reference, as a demonstration of Hashem's presence, and we see that in the Torah regarding the Mishkan, and then Shlomo referred to it in terms of the Beis HaMikdash that he built. Of course, Shlomo built the first Beis HaMikdash. Uvachorban Beis HaMikdash Matzinu, and when the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, we find in a pasuk from Hosea Dichsiv that it's written, Elech Ashuva El Makomi Harishon. I will go and I will return to my place. Those are the words from the pasuk, and the Zera Shimshon adds the word Harishon, my first place, meaning after the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, only after the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed did Hashem say, well, now there's no Beis HaMikdash down here on earth. I will have my Shechina, my divine presence, go back up to the Shamayim. V'zehu hagadula v'haromamu shenosan HaKadosh Baruch Hu liYisrael. And this is the greatness and the exaltedness that Yeshayahu was referring to, that Hashem gave to Klal Yisrael. What was it? It was that Hashem caused his Shechina to leave the Shamayim and come down and dwell on earth. V'zeh, next paragraph, v'zeh yiyeh kesher hapsukim. And this now answers the Zera Shimshon's original question that started started the ball rolling, that started this whole piece. And that question was, what was the connection between the two parts of the psukim, the first part and the latter part? So he says this now we understand the connection between the two parts of the psukim. V'hine Yeshayahu Amar Shimu Shamayim, because Yeshayahu said here, using the verb shema, using here in reference to the Shamayim, Lefisha hayu rochok min hashamayim. He used it first of all because he was far from Shamayim. Vashamayim hayu rotzim la'nishon. As we said, the malachim and the heavenly powers wanted to punish him. Lefisha lo nasan lahem ha'azana, because he didn't use the more appropriate word, in their opinion, of ha'azana, which refers to closeness and also readiness to listen. Shehu yoser choshuv mishmiya, which is a more a proper and appropriate word in reference to the heavens than the word shemiya. V'hu teretz lahem, and he, Yeshayahu, answered them, ki Hashem diber, because Hashem has spoken. She'eno rotzel ases kavod l'shamayim yoser meha'aretz. Hashem has shown us that he doesn't want to give more honor and prestige, so to speak, to the Shamayim more than the earth. Ela adarabba, but just the opposite. He niach hashamayim v'yorad ba'aretz. Hashem left he took his Shechina, he took the Shechina out of the Shamayim and brought it down to the earth. V'heichen matzinu she'asa zeh, and where do we know Where do we find that he did this? And that this is the second part of the pasuk, Bonim gidalti v'romamti. I raised up and exalted my children. And the Zera Shimshon says that can only be a reference to Hashem causing his Shekhinah to dwell in the Mishkan originally, and then later in the Beis HaMikdash. And that's the ultimate proof, the ultimate reasoning and rationale behind why Yeshayahu changed the wording from the way Moshe had set it up, because he wanted to show that Hashem himself preferred dwelling on earth when the Beis HaMikdash, when the Mishkan was here, and when the Beis HaMikdash was here, and only once the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed after the Chorban, then Hashem's Shekhinah returned to the Shamayim. So what we've seen in this piece is that what Moshe's usage of the two verbs was very carefully chosen, obviously. But anyone who would question Yeshayahu's change has now, after we complete the piece in the Zera Shimshon, now has a full explanation and a full understanding of why Yeshayahu changed the words, and it's based on the fact that this teaching in the Sifsei Kohen, this commentary, which shows us that Hashem actually preferred to make his Shekhinah dwell down on earth because of the righteous activities and actions of the Jewish people and their building of the Beis HaMikdash, the Mishkan, the Beis HaMikdash. Hashem brought down his Shekhinah from Shamayim to the earth. So in what incredible power we see that we have as Bnei Yisrael and as Klal Yisrael to, God willing, bring back the Beis HaMikdash and have Hashem rebuild the Beis HaMikdash and cause his Shekhinah to return to the Beis HaMikdash, and of course bring Mashiach speedily in our days. Yasher koach to everyone who joined in the learning tonight. We look forward, God willing, to learning in the Zera Shimshon again next week.